The morphing grid. What is it? How's it work? Is it alive? All this and more on
Supa. Hero. Tyme.
Welcome to Superhero Time, where we explore concepts and ideas from across superhero media and culture. And today, we're chatting a little bit about the morphing grid. But before we start, I'd like to ask you to subscribe, follow, comment, and share. You know, statistics say that creators on the internet miss out on at least 40% of potential support by simply neglecting to ask. Turns out the whole closed mouths don't get fed thing is true, and we'd like to continue not only to make stuff on our own terms, but to be able to put that cool stuff out on a more consistent basis. So thanks in advance. So depending on who you ask, the morphing grid is either an energy field, a interdimensional wellspring of energy housed in another dimension, and the infrastructure used to maintain and contain that energy, or a sentient-ish metaphysical energy source that permeates life, a la the Force. And the answer is a combination of all of those ideas. To be more precise, the morphing grid is a wellspring of an other dimensional, somewhat metaphysical energy source of anomalous origin, sometimes coalesced into what we call grid energy. This energy source helps the Power Rangers to tap into their empowered forms, as well as powers their weapons and equipment. This is typically done through one or more conduits, like a morpher. The grid, or rather pieces of it, has been portrayed as being able to take physical form, as evidenced by the time that the grid manifested as a mid-sized boulder in front of Ethan, James, and Kara Ford, or in microcosms of the grid took the form of the power eggs. Now those are some real huevos. There's also that time where Alpha used some sort of access point to physically enter the grid, or rather, its support infrastructure in order to repair it. So naturally there's a lot going on with it. But remember when we mentioned empowered individuals, i.e. Rangers, and how they interface with it? When connected or interfaced into the grid, an empowered person can gain enhanced physical speed, durability, and strength, increase reflexes and reaction time, and gain intrinsic skills relating to their tasks, such as instant or almost instant mastery of hand-to-hand combat. This can extend to weapon usage, as well as the ability to pilot or operate all of the advanced, sometimes quasi-mystical or straight-up mystical hardware a Ranger comes into contact with. Although this has been the most inconsistent grid intrinsic portrayed throughout Power Rangers media. Of course, anyone with some sort of access point to the grid can harness what we call morphin energy, which has led to the creation of various teams or evil Power Rangers. Rangers interface with the grid through the use of their morphers, as well as certain weapons and artifacts, and although general powers and power archetypes can be duplicated, the grid, or possibly its support infrastructure, can only maintain one specific connection to a specific Ranger power at a time. Yes? No? Kinda? You have the emissaries, former Rangers turned guardian entities who not just defend the grid, but embody the morphing energy as it permeates through different universes, timelines, and dimensions. There's also the Morphin Masters, these beings that were born within the grid and are also empowered by it, and seek to protect it as well as all life across all of existence by creating and distributing different artifacts that serve as connections to the grid for the purposes of creating new Rangers. While that's not a direct answer as to whether the grid has sentience and consciousness, we know that after a certain point in time, the grid does develop sentience if it didn't already possess some sort of sentience already. That point could have been construed as the death of Zordon and the subsequent Z-Wave. Zordon's essence merges with the Morphing Grid following his death in Countdown to Destruction, and he would appear in the form of Zato to Aeon, before essentially reviving him. Zato himself metamorphizing into a morphing master soon afterwards. It is unknown if the grid serves as an afterlife for dead rangers and grid-empowered warriors, or if the combination of a possible afterlife in the grid and a righteous life and a proximity to a master staff are the catalyst for a full-on ascension into Morphin masterhood. So there's a whole lot of lore I left out because I wanted to get to the crux of what the Morphing Grid is and what it does. And the short answer is that it's an energy field and that it gives the Rangers their powers, but also more or less does whatever the plot needs it to do. It really is that straightforward. Now, if you guys would like me to spin back and talk a little bit more about the grid and its nature, please like, comment, wherever you watch the video. Or you could just go watch Sir Superhero's video about the grid. I promise I won't cry too much. It's really well made and well researched. Otherwise, this has been Superhero Time. Peace out and stay super.